In 1856, Henry Howland Crapo and his wife Mary Ann Slocum moved from Massachusetts to Flint, Michigan. Crapo was a highly civic-minded and politically active man. In 1860, he was elected mayor of his new town, and by 1862, he had joined the Senate representing Genesee County as one of Michigan's leading senators during the Civil War. Just 2 years later, in 1864, he was nominated on the Republican ticket and elected the 14th governor of Michigan in an overwhelming majority. Crapo had come to Flint mainly due to investments in the lumber industry, and by the beginning of the Civil War, had established the largest individually owned lumber firm in the state. He was also instrumental in the construction and growth of railways in Michigan. Initially, the acreage that he developed was considered worthless and nicknamed Dead Man's Swamp. But Henry could see potential in the area, and its growth is a testament to his vision, dedication, and business acumen. He and his only son William set about properly draining the marsh and revitalizing the acreage into viable farmland. A ditch 4 feet wide at the bottom, 10 feet wide at the top, and nearly 4 miles long, with an overall descent of 12 feet, allowed the previously stagnant waters to give birth to acres of fertile soil and the quick-moving current of Schwartz Creek. As William would recall later, he had a farm of 400 acres within a mile or two from Flint, but this did not satisfy him. He had seen the Dead Man's Swamp near Schwartz Creek. There were 600 acres of swamp, covered with the luxuriant growth of poplars and swamp bushes and vegetation, and infested with rattlesnakes and abounding in unlimited malaria. This 600 acres was surrounded by high ground of fertile quality. He would become the possessor of the highland and the lowland, and in the combination create a model farm, beautiful and abounding in fertility. This created the perfect land for Crapo's next venture, raising pure-blood Hereford cattle, resulting in the largest Hereford farm in the same family for over 100 years. Crapo had established a strong relationship with the native tribes of the area. He formed an exceptionally close tie with the local chief Wabaness, David Fisher, and this friendship lasted throughout the rest of their lives. William remembered, "My father purchased land from Wabaness, and with the money Wabaness built a white man's house on the land across the road. He was a great admirer of my father, and afterwards, when I had taken possession, whenever I went there, the old Indian would greet me always calling me Crapo boy, as he had known me when I was with my father." On the land that Henry Howland Crapo once owned, still remains a Chippewa burial ground honoring the 1857 agreement between Crapo and Chief Wabaness. Today, it is tended by a local group led by Bill Morgan and the Schwartz Creek Historical Society. An extremely well-liked and by all accounts effective politician, Crapo served 2 full terms as governor. While he did much to advance Michigan, his contributions to the Flint area remain his legacy. Tragically, only 7 months after leaving office in 1869, he succumbed to illness and passed away at age 65. William continued to manage the farm from his home in New Bedford, Massachusetts, where he lived as a prominent lawyer and congressman, but never fully embraced the area as his father did, and stated, "He was aware that I did not have the full extent the enthusiasm which inspired him, but would say to me that I might have a son who would like to be a farmer and carry forward his work." One of William's sons, Stanford Tappan Crapo, did just that. A graduate of Yale University, St. grew into his grandfather's legacy and became an extremely successful businessman, with interests in numerous ventures including rail, banking, coal mining, and cement mills. Under his direction, the farm soared to new heights. Thousands of tons of produce were harvested every year, including hay, corn, silage, straw, and more. The farm even had its own rail depot, and numerous trips were taken with their prize Herefords competing across the country. Much of the success lay with the managers hired to run the farm, including Tom Foster, Charlie Chambers, John and Dan Miller, and Don Edwards. In 1929, Joe Purdy arrived and would become one of the greatest herdsmen and cattle judges of the country. Later, Joe's cousin Richard joined the farm, and between the two men, they led an unprecedented record of show winnings. The Herefords gained national prominence, and during one period, received the premier Michigan breeder banner at the state fair for 16 years in a row. In 1939, St. passed away. While his net worth at the time of his death exceeded $4 million, his inheritance tax liability to the state of Michigan was a record $270,000. His son Bill continued to operate the farm, but the times had changed, and as he explained, after World War II, the market fell off in Michigan. Hereford cattle demand moved west, and fine herds catering to the special requirements of the Western Range were established right in the range country or nearby. Crapo Farm had become a big responsibility. Production had been increased to almost 500 registered Herefords. I was 60 years old and busy in Detroit. Although we had a good staff, the young people had no desire to be farmers. Taxes were increasing. That great industrial complex of Flint, Saginaw, Lansing, Pontiac, and the Detroit metropolitan area was closing in on us. In 1955, the farm was sold. 1,382.64 acres went for $1,000 an acre. It became what is known as Winchester Village today. Although the farmhouse survived the sale and the subsequent redevelopment, it was later destroyed in a fire in 1975, 109 years after its construction. By no means does the story end here. This family has harvested an undeniable crop of success and touched countless lives. Even today, we see the legacy of one man's entrepreneurial will and pioneering spirit.